What's going on, you little bastards? Epic here, and welcome back to a new video on the channel. And oh my god, he's doing a Redux video. I know it's about time I finally do one of these. And yes, here we are today, because we're going to be counting down what are, in my opinion, the top 5 Redux weapons. Yes, top 5 Redux weapons, meaning this does not include weapons from the base game such as the Monarch, or even reworked base game weapons such as the Plasma Coil, which comes in corrosive in Redux and whatnot. It doesn't mean stuff like that. This is just new weapons in the mod that have been added in. Also remember that even though as the creator of the mod, this is just my opinion, yours may differ, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of differing opinions on my picks for this list, so just bear that in mind. But nonetheless, boys, coming in at number 5, we have the Florentine pearlescent SMG. This was added in with the Omega update, and it drops exclusively from Omega Manticore the Invincible out in Desolation's Edge. The Florentine, returning from Borderlands 2 in Redux, this time fires shock and radiation projectiles instead of shock and slag, and it is pretty damn good in Redux. But unfortunately for me, it falls into my number 5 spot because of how finicky the projectiles are. They are almost very slow, even though they're actually pretty damn quick, which can make hitting enemies really odd because the projectiles spin and do this weird crisscross pattern, which really makes it hard to hit enemies consistently. And even though the damage on this gun is really good, like I said, having those slow but almost fast moving projectiles, they're just so complicated and annoying to work with, which means if you come against flying enemies, you're going to be having a really hard time. I would love to put this thing at maybe the number 4 or number 3 spot, but unfortunately I just feel like it's outclassed by other weapons, and also it comes from an Invincible, meaning you may have a lot of trouble farming for this thing, so that's why it's my number 5 spot. But ladies and gentlemen, coming in at the number 4 spot, we've got the Midnight Wisdom Dahl pearlescent sniper rifle. This was also added in with the Omega update, and it drops exclusively from Hemovorous the Invincible in the Darkthirst Dominion. The Midnight Wisdom, which shares a lot of similarities to the Sandhawk sniper rifle, is actually more of a single firing, slow, low RPM sniper rifle that fires these purple darts forward in a horizontal line. Now what makes the Midnight Wisdom so good is it only consumes 1 ammo per shot. However, like the name suggests, being midnight, it shoots 12 projectiles with 1 bullet, meaning this thing is very ammo efficient and it does a lot of damage. However, the reason why this thing is only at the number 4 spot is because, much like the Florentine, this thing's come from an Invincible, and it also doesn't help that this thing is a pearlescent, meaning it's very hard to obtain. Also, you're going to have to spend that 500 iridium just to get to it. And another reason why it's at the number 4 spot only is because this thing only rolls with shock, leaving it redundant in some situations, like if you want to go and take on the Invincible Manticore, you're going to struggle against that armor bar or even the health bar because this thing only comes in shock. Does that mean it is bad? Absolutely not. This thing is amazing. In fact, as you can see, it's on my top 5 best Redux weapons. This thing is great for Guardian takedown dealing with the crystal phase. However, unfortunately, there are some pros which I can't ignore, and that does render this gun a little useless in some scenarios. But nonetheless, coming in at the number 3 spot, this is a brand new weapon which was just recently added in, and it's the Vladov Thunderbird assault rifle, and boy oh boy do I love this. The Thunderbird is a low RPM Vladov assault rifle that packs a punch, firing out shock needles which stick into enemies and then detonate after a few seconds. And it also features an underbarrel grenade launcher which does massive damage. The gun also features a ton of damage over time, which is really handy. And the reason why this thing is at the number 3 spot is because it is so incredibly easy to get a hold of. Unlike the Florentine and the Midnight Wisdom, which cannot be obtained via the Iridium Fabricator, the Thunderbird can, and it can also drop from other world drop sources, as well as the Agonizer 9000, which you encounter during your playthrough. And since this is not a pearlescent, it is very easy to farm, meaning it is accessible to almost everyone. And as if that was not good enough, the projectiles that this thing fire when they detonate on enemies can actually proc Eraser on Zane, meaning if you're lucky enough to land those needles on an enemy's crit spot as Zane, it is possible for them to detonate and then penetrate the enemy, which makes this gun really good for bosses like Wotan the Invincible. So all in all, I really like the Thunderbird. This is, truth be told, one of my favorite weapons in Redux. However, I don't think it is one of the best, so that's why I gave it the number 3 spot. Coming in at the number 2 spot is another recently added gun, this time in the form of the tedio Lotus SMG, and oh my goodness, this thing almost took number 1 for me. The Lotus SMG is a high fire rate, high mag size tedio SMG, and the red text reads, "Spread your seed." And this is not just a little one-off funny joke, this is actually doing what it says on the card, because when you hit enemies with the lotus, the shots will chain to other enemies, much like a redistributor or brainstormer or even a reflux. But the really cool effect of this gun is that when you throw it out and it lands, it will start spraying bullets in all directions, opening up much like a lotus flower. And what's even cooler about this is that the shots that it throws out deal more damage depending on how many bullets are in the mag when you throw it, and when these shots hit enemies, they can also chain too. The gun also, I do believe, does get bonuses from the Infernal Wish, meaning you can get multiple of these when you chuck them out. It is just a tedio lover's dream, and it almost took the #1 spot, but unfortunately, it doesn't beat out our #1 spot. But before we reveal that, I do have an honorable mention here, because I know a lot of people are going to be asking me where it is on the list, and for that honorable mention, it is the Norfleet Torg rocket launcher. The reason why I could not put the Norfleet on this list is because while it is a very good rocket launcher, it does unfortunately once again drop from an invincible, this time being Vermivorous the Invincible, and it is very rare to get dropped. And as if that was not bad enough, this thing has crazy large splash radius, meaning when you're firing this thing out, you're constantly in fear of your life, thinking that you're going to blow yourself up, and I can't use it. This thing, while it is very good, is too scary to use, and for that reason, I just couldn't put it on the list. I know a lot of people love the Norfleet, but I really hope you understand my decision here, so without further ado, let's move into what took the Norfleet spot at #1, which is the Interfacer. The Interfacer in Redux is easily the most powerful weapon there is, with its Interfacer firing pattern returning from Borderlands 2, although a little different this time. Unlike the Borderlands 2 Interfacer firing pattern where these side projectiles would disappear after they initially impact and then the middle one would keep moving forward, in Redux all of the projectiles keep moving forward, making this thing an absolute monster when you're playing someone like Zane with Eraser, or Flak with Gorillas in the Mist, or even someone like Mose with all of her crazy shenanigans on there as well. And hey, you can use it on Amara with Tempest too if you get a shock one to just absolutely dominate with it. The Interfacer is absolutely busted, and luckily, while it is a pearlescent, it drops from the Valkyrie squad in the Malawan takedown, who is a very easy boss to farm in comparison to all of the other bosses on this list. So I couldn't help but put the Interfacer on the list. It really is, in my opinion, the best weapon in Redux, but I know a lot of people are probably going to disagree with this list because I'm such a filthy casual. So let me know in the comment section down below if you've played Redux. What is your top 5 Redux weapons? Let me know and I'll be sure to let you know what I think of them. Thank you guys for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.